Today, Bitcoin crosses $42,000 for the first time since April of 2022. FTX and Alameda Research move another $22 million worth of crypto. And Kristin Smith, the CEO of the Blockchain Association, discusses regulatory reform for crypto at the organization's policy summit in Washington, D.C. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Major cryptocurrencies hit fresh highs for the year, fueled by the possibility of rate cuts in the U.S., and traders once again betting that applications for spot Bitcoin ETFs will soon win approval. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded around $41,600 after briefly surpassing the $42,000 mark as the highest level reached since April 21st of last year, when Bitcoin traded close to $43,000. Ether rose to around $2,200 after reaching a high of nearly $2,300, its highest level since May of 2022. Solana, however, dropped nearly 3%, trading close to 61 bucks. All right, let's talk about the top stories. As crypto prices hit highs today, crypto-focused stocks, including Coinbase, MicroStrategy, and crypto miners Marathon Digital and Riot, all surged, looking to extend their strong November gains. As of noon Eastern, Coinbase rose nearly 8% today. This comes after the stock soared more than 60% last month, even as the crypto exchange reported a decline in Q3 trading volumes. MicroStrategy, which bought nearly $600 million in Bitcoin last month, also rose about 8% as of noon, and Riot and Marathon Digital jumped more than 9%, adding to last month's gains. The ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, which tracks Bitcoin futures, climbed more than 7.5%, while the ProShares Short Bitcoin Strategy ETF fell by the same amount. Next, crypto assets belonging to FTX and Alameda Research are on the move. According to analytics firm Look On Chain, the two bankrupt firms have transferred roughly $22 million in Ethereum, Uniswap, Shiba Inu, and more. The crypto companies are gearing up to repay customers, and Bloomberg reports that FTX also just got court approval to sell its stake in trusts managed by Grayscale Investments, worth about $750 million, to help make customers whole. Last, Spanish police say they arrested a man wanted by the United States for allegedly conspiring with a convicted American crypto researcher to help North Korea evade U.S. sanctions. Spanish National Police said they found Alejandro Caudebenos, who founded a pro-Pyongyang affinity organization in Barcelona under a false identity, and that he had planned to catch a train to Madrid. Last year, the DOJ charged him and another European citizen, a crypto businessman named Christopher Ems, alleging that they recruited researcher Virgil Griffith to illegally provide crypto and blockchain technology services to North Korea. In April of last year, the DOJ said that Griffith pleaded guilty to conspiring to assist North Korea in evading sanctions in violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and was sentenced to more than 5 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. Reuters reported that Caudebenos described the allegations against him as false in a social media post on Friday. All right, for our main story, the 2023 Blockchain Association's Policy Summit in Washington, D.C. wrapped up last week. And one of the key speakers included CFTC Commissioner Kristin Johnson. She mentioned the recent settlement against Binance and Changpeng Zhao and called the case a landmark moment in the CFTC's oversight of the digital asset market and market participants. She noted that enforcement actions are not a replacement for comprehensive regulatory reform, and the CFTC doesn't intend to treat them that way. But she added that the Commission's enforcement actions have created guardrails for the digital asset market in the absence of governmental action tailored to the crypto economy. So to talk more about regulatory reform for digital assets, Crypto World's Danae McKeel sat down with Kristin Smith, the CEO of the Blockchain Association, at its policy summit in D.C.
Kristin, thank you so much for joining me today. Always a pleasure to catch up, and what a great event you guys have put on here. What have been your biggest takeaways so far? You have an amazing speaker lineup. What's going on?
Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic day here in Washington. We have over 90 of our companies represented here at the event this week, and I think, the key takeaways are that we really do have some strong allies in government, some that really understand the technology and that want to work with us constructively on a path forward. I think, there is a realization, though, that there are some of those in government who haven't taken time to learn about this technology and that have thrown out proposals that aren't workable or would really do some underlying harm to the ecosystem. And so I think we do have some work to do, but I think the good news is we have so many people within the crypto industry that want to constructively engage with government, and they're working together with the Blockchain Association and with other organizations in Washington working on crypto policy. And so I'm really optimistic as we head into 2024 that we're going to have some of the most constructive dialogue we've had with government yet.
What's your sense of, I guess, to what extent is there's still some just plain ignorance remaining versus people who are engaging and educating, but still just have not made that connection. They haven't understood it yet.
Yeah, well, I think it's a mix. We've had some members of Congress. If you look at Congressman Emmer, for example, he co-founded the Congressional Blockchain Caucus before the Blockchain Association even existed, and he's been working and thinking about these issues for a long time. I think there's also members that sit on the relevant committees of jurisdiction, like the House Financial Services Committee, that have sort of been forced to learn about this. But if you get away from some of these core areas, I think we still have a lot of work to do to get the rank and file members of Congress, or even some of the folks at the federal agencies, up to speed about what we're trying to build with blockchain and crypto technology. I mean, I think the people working in this industry see this as an opportunity to reimagine our financial services system in a way that is more efficient and more inclusive. They also want to try to rebuild the internet in a way that gives people control over their own information. And so I think that there's a lot of promise and potential. And the challenge we've had is that a lot of this work is still being built and is underway, and it hasn't fully yet translated into something that consumers and businesses use every day. But as time goes on, I think that's going to get better and better, and so I'm really optimistic that the regulation and the policy will catch up to where the technology is in the months and years ahead.
Okay, so we're looking into 2024. What does that work look like for you guys next year? And I know more broadly there's the market structure bill and the stablecoin bill.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that in a second, but for your work at the Blockchain Association, what are you tackling in the next 12 months?
Yeah, no, we have a lot on our agenda. One, we're tracking the court cases that are going on, very closely, including Kraken and Coinbase's, as well as some of the Tornado Cash lawsuits and other challenges out there. And so we're always looking to help educate the court with amicus briefs in that process. But another area of focus, as you mentioned, is the legislation. I think there are a couple of areas within the federal law where there are clear gaps, and we need Congress to step in and provide the right kind of environment. And so it's continuing to work, to try to improve the market structure bill, to make it something that will, encourage more innovation here in the U.S. It's moving forward, hopefully, with the stablecoin legislation, and really helping fill those gaps that, otherwise the federal government isn't able to, sort of assert authority over these parts of the ecosystem. And so I think that those are our two primary focuses. But what underlies all of this is we really need to have more education. And I think as the Blockchain Association has grown and as our membership has grown, we're really taking on the role as a coordinator. There's so many talented people with prior government experience, with industry experience, who are working together to tackle these problems. And so we're really excited about bringing more people together so that we can convey the vision we have for this industry and hopefully ultimately achieve better policy.
What exactly is driving things, or what needs to be done in order to have a productive year, I guess, when it comes to crypto regulation? We are a year out from FTX. We just saw the Binance settlement, and I think for many crypto insiders, that sort of closed a bad chapter and allows for another one. So we have these two big catalysts coming up, the Bitcoin halving and, of course, the Bitcoin ETF, the spot ETF. And I would think that it was sort of imperative to have, clear rules of the road in place to be able to welcome new investors into the market. You and I know that this industry has been asking for regulation for so long, and what exactly, like I asked at the top, would progress look like? Is it just more engagement, or is there a specific way that the needle needs to move in 2024?
Yeah, well, and there has been some regulation that has been applied to the crypto industry already, and that makes sense. But I think it's filling the gaps that are the important pieces. And unfortunately, some of the names you mentioned, I think for a while there we had some problems within the crypto industry, quite frankly. Like, we had some bad actors among us that I think 2023 will be remembered as the year that we were able to sort of purge ourselves from being having these bad actors dominate the headlines and allow the rest of the industry to move forward with having a more constructive dialogue. So it's interesting. I think this year has been in some ways a quieter year because the drama has been less intense than it has been in prior years. But I think as we go into 2024, we have a good plan, we have a good team in place, we have good people working on these issues, and I think that if we can do more education, bring more ideas to the table, we can ultimately get the legislation and therefore the regulation that the industry needs in order to move it to the next level.
To what extent would the industry be held back, if that's even the right way to put it, if there isn't legislation that gets formally passed next year?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to happen next year. I think that we do have a little bit of time. I mean, as I mentioned before, if you look at the exchanges or other financial intermediaries, there already are state level regulations on the books, and then at the illicit finance level, a lot of requirements from the Bank Secrecy Act already apply to these organizations. And so there is a structure in place, and I think Patrick McHenry was here last night. He was saying, if the federal government on the stablecoin front, for example, doesn't step in, then the states will. And so I don't think that we're going to find insufficient regulation. I think it's really going to be a question of, can we find that right balance that makes it easy enough and enticing enough for companies to stay here, companies who've had to leave to come back, and maybe even new investment coming into the United States. But I think that the pieces are in place, that this is a process that does need to play out, and it will take time, but I do think we will arrive on sound crypto policy in the years ahead.
All right, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.